Hello, everyone. My name is Hank Suttala,
Aloha, I'm Brian Daniel Edwards.
and we're here with a non-midnight meanderings. Welcome, everyone. We were a little bit off our game a little since Brian was actually traveling to the mainland. He has been arrived safely now in Minnesota and is getting used to new non-island time and used to having not being up till midnight now. Or I should say
Yeah,
me. I'm not going to be up till midnight, but we didn't want to miss another week. We wanted to make sure to come on, and we are going to start streaming earlier now. Every Tuesday, we'll probably be on around 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which will be a little bit more in line with where he is now in the world.
yeah, midnight. I'm used to island time and it's interesting, there is no jet lag that I experience. Even when I came from Hawaii to California, California to Central Time Zone, Central to Eastern Time Zone, no matter which time zone it was, as soon as the sun went down, I was ready for bed. As soon as the sun crack of dawn, I'm ready to get up. It's very interesting. I'm very tied to nature.
Yeah, and just in case, since it is 10 o'clock and most of the people that have been watching us are up around the midnight hour, if you're catching us for the first time, Brian and I went through a shaman apprenticeship program together. We've known each other for quite some time, and we've been kind of following Brian's meanderings across the world. He's been to Mexico, he's been to Australia. He just came back from Hawaii, so he's been kind of sharing the things that he's picked up along the way. And this stream is all about just kind of having a casual conversation, but also interweaving all kinds of different teachings and healing things and things like that. And I know you had quite a few things that you were working on now that you're kind of settling down and have access to a regular computer again and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, finally, I'm sitting down. I have running water and electricity, and it's kind of novel items. Living out in the jungle, it's been interesting. But yeah, I miss the coqui frogs, especially when you get the shower. You'd hear the coquis going off, and at night you're surrounded by the music of coquis. They're like little tree frogs that make a sound like coqui. So they go. Now that's one coqui frog. There's millions of them, and it can be almost deafening in some parts of the island. So it's getting to sleep without the coquis or adjust to the temperature. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through winter. I have not been in a cold climate in 3 years. This is brutal, and it's only been down into the 40 degrees. I don't know. I might tap out and go somewhere warm.
Maybe back to Mexico. Who knows? Is there some place in particular that you're kind of feeling out, thinking for your next escapade?
I'm feeling really drawn to the West and the Southwest. I went from California. Well, I flew from Hawaii, spent a few days, actually almost a week in California. That was an interesting adventure. I got to see some of California and how parched it was, how burnt it was, how smoke-filled it was. My eyes, nose, and throat were burning within just a few days. I don't know how everyone there can tolerate that for months on end. It was really rough. My heart goes out to them.
And we should have recorded something. Like Brian was actually in town for a brief time for his birthday. Got to see him, and another friend of ours, also named Brian, was here, and he was actually telling how he was going on the freeway, and there was like literally fire on either side, and they were just kind of driving and praying at the same time. Were you actually like right by the fires, like the other Brian was, or was it you were a little bit more detached from that?
I was. So interestingly enough, it was twilight during the day up until the day I rove. The day I landed, there's blue skies. And for the first time in a month, they actually saw the sun.
Oh, you brought a little Hawaii with you.
I didn't get to see the smoke, let's put it that way. Now granted, there's still a haze and it was a little bit smoky, but not the way it was before I rove.
Now, did you want to, like, you had quite an experience with your rental car? Is that a story you want to share, or is that something just for off air?
Well, I mean, sure, why not? I was a little bit disappointed. Parts of Hawaii can be a little bit cluttered and littered, but for the most part, Hawaii was very, very clean. Australia was a very, very clean, beautiful place. A lot of work went into the public places, the playgrounds, the parks, the roadways, the amenities, the shopping centers. Everything was really pristine. I got to California, and there was an unimaginable amount of trash everywhere on the side of the roads, in parks, on streets, not to mention the homeless population using the streets as bathrooms. There were, I mean, you could look everywhere, and there was literally homeless people in tents everywhere. It was kind of, like, there's a big homeless problem in Hawaii, which interestingly is not native to Hawaii. They have been bussed in. So big cities like, I know New York, a lot of them I spoke to got flown in from New York. So these homeless problems that the big cities have, well, they fix the problem by sending them to Hawaii. Buy them a one-way ticket to Hawaii, so they're not their problem anymore. So they get on welfare in Hawaii and live off of that, live on the beaches, and it can be a dangerous crowd. A lot of meth users, heroin users, it can be bad. And the one night that I camped in one of those areas that was a campground and supposedly one of the better campgrounds, I was hearing things like, I'm going to smash your head in. I have a hammer. In the morning, like, someone's like, I got a knife, I'm going to stab you in the eye. Luckily, none of that was directed at me. I was trying to stay invisible. But I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Fun times. But in California, it was just trashed. I could not believe the devastation and the disrespect for the land. The land was absolutely parched. The first time I really saw a lot of green land was when I got back to Minnesota. Everything from the West Coast all the way to Minnesota and the flyover was pretty much brown. And that's stark contrast from Hawaii. Yeah, there's brown parts, like when you go to the leeward side, there's a desert in Hawaii and Maui. However, there's these lush green landscapes that I was used to in the tropics, and even parts of Australia, although parts of Australia are very parched and dry and desert-like.
Because they were having fire problems in Australia too, weren't they?
Oh,
like
yeah.
Before you left, yeah.
A lot of Australia was on fire. My friends were getting smoked out. When I was up on Mount Tamborine, it was all smoky up there, super dry, and you could just feel it. The trees were aching for water. They were so thirsty. The land was so thirsty. The animals were suffering. It was a rough time. California as well. You could just feel the dryness of the land. You can feel how thirsty it was. So it was pretty stark contrast seeing that. I met up with a friend of mine, another military friend, and he was kind of having a rough patch. So it was good. We ran into each other and had a great time hanging out. Went to the Japanese tea garden, really beautiful. Got a really nice cup of matcha green tea. Got to explore it. On the way back, we got lost. I didn't realize he was legally blind. I thought he was leading us to where the car was, but he really couldn't see much. So I was getting led by a blind guy. But no, we eventually found the car, and it was smashed, and they grabbed all our stuff. So,
only to Brian, and like Brian has been robbed at gunpoint in Mexico before. So to create contrast, there's kind of like a running joke in a way that wherever Brian goes, like some weird things happen, but then he always shifts it and turns it into a great possibility. So even though all the stuff was taken, anyway, it was he always turns it around, no matter what kind of deck of cards he's dealt.
No, especially that first time I got robbed at gunpoint, it really I would not have been able to go to Australia than Hawaii if that did not happen. I was so attached to my material items and possessions that until I had them ripped away at gunpoint and I felt the lifting of that burden, I'm like, oh, it's only material items, it's only things. So now getting my stuff stolen again, I was able to retain my hard drives. So I'm happy. I have all my pictures. Yeah, they got some clothes. They got,
Oh,
they got
my
some
favorite thing
things.
is they got his Mesa, and I told him, I'm like, I could just see these, like, whoever robbed him, like, getting back, opening the pack, and then they come out with this and like, oh no, we robbed a holy man, we robbed a shaman. Oh no, because they're very, even if they're crime oriented, sometimes there's a lot of religion and a lot of superstition that goes around some of the traditions. So I can just imagine like the energy of like what they were thinking when they found that.
Oh yeah, in Mexico, very superstitious. You don't cross holy people. You don't desecrate church sites. You don't desecrate temples. You don't do anything against holy people. No matter what, whether they're a shaman, Michika, Toltec, Macumbo, Espiritista, any of them, you don't, there's some line drawn. But they didn't realize, I just looked like a standard run-of-the-mill gringo. So they had no idea that, what I had in my bag. So that had to be very interesting for them to open that up and find all these shamanic items and or, holy relics. So
But it all turned out for the best too. I thought I had a picture of it too. I thought maybe I didn't. I thought I had a picture of what the car looked like, but I guess I don't. Yeah, that's all right. No, I guess we don't need to see that. So now you're in Minnesota, and I know that you were finally getting some things. Like we've always talked about, you needing to get your escapades down in writing, and you're actually starting to make headway with all that.
yeah, so I finally sat down and I'm like, why am I in Minnesota? Oh yeah, because there's absolutely nothing to do. Uh, well, I mean that's not true. This is a very special region here. Uh, the Smithsonian will deny it. However, I was watching a special. There's scientific. They found a runic stone left by Vikings here, and it described the Goths and the Swedes. I forget, but there's a translation of it, and they came from Vinland actually, and they were here. Some of them died, or they said 10 men covered in blood, dead. So I'm not sure whether it was their men or other natives. So I'm not sure exactly the context of that, but they have found a lot of Viking artifacts, all that have been chalked up to being a hoax. But as I'm watching this stone, about the stone, especially about the stone, they had people testifying to the wear and the mineral content of the carved faces, that it was very ancient. The tree, everybody that looked at the tree and examined the tree said it had flat roots. It wasn't like a stone that they carved and stuck under the tree. The roots had grown around this thing. So there's just a lot of things. Even they tried to account the language to be false or fake because some of the characters, I believe it was an F symbol and the umlaut. But then they went through and showed historical artifacts from that time period that use that same language and those same characters. So it looks legit. So that means that there's Vikings in this region. The other very interesting thing is copper in Egypt has been found to be chemically identical to the copper here in northern Michigan, Wisconsin region, Minnesota area. So that means that the Egyptians even traveled here to get copper and trade. So it's very interesting why. I've yet discovered the reason why. I'm hoping to get in with the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe. I'd really like to reach out, meet them, get to talk with them, and learn about this region, learn about their traditions. That is actually my ancestry as well.
Yep.
Part
Do it
on
quick
my
before winter
mother's
sets
side.
in. I
What?
said, I said, do it quick before winter sets in. That way you can go somewhere warm. And
Yeah,
just checking in.
yeah,
Megan was just saying hi, Hank. Hi, Megan. Thank you so much for tuning in. Most of the folks that normally watch us are tuning in at midnight. We have to let them know that there's a new time. So thank you for those of you joining us. And if you have any questions or comments, or even just want to say hi, feel free to make a comment. And if you want to see, when he says get in with these people, every place he's gone, he ends up connecting with these amazing medicine people that have all this amazing wisdom. If you go back to some of the playlists for Midnight Meanderings on our YouTube, there's like Rocky, who is like one of the people that when people take stones from Hawaii and bad things start happening, they mail it back. He's one of the people that would go take those rocks and put them back in sacred sites and things. And I forget the name of the one that was related to Harry. I forget his name now. But I mean, he was amazing with all kinds of information. But there's a lot of, he's gotten some of these people that he's connected with to come on as guests. So I highly recommend going back and checking some of those things out.
Yeah. Along the way, I meet these fantastic people that it's just really beyond belief who I've run into, who I've gotten to talk to. Some of which I've talked about, some of which I've not talked about. For anonymity reasons. The experiences I've had, it's just been really amazing. And some of the secrets that I've been read into are just astounding. I have conclusively seen proof of the spiritual realms. It's in a lot of these cultures and traditions, it's just as real as the physical realms. So the spiritual sciences that have been studied all around the world, I've gotten to look in at some of this stuff, and it's just amazing. From the Aboriginals in Australia, they can pound the ground with their foot, they can stomp, and they can feel all the heartbeats around them in a circle. They can feel, so they stomp their foot and then they can feel every heartbeat around there, animal, human, doesn't matter. They can feel all the creatures around them. They can walk right into your dreams. So if you meet an Aboriginal on the street, and he might not really say that many words, but he'll take note of you, and especially if you're someone who needs help or is spiritually gifted, and all of a sudden he shows up in your dream and starts teaching you. Really amazing. In Hawaii, I had a friend, she fell off a cliff, broke her back, broke her shoulder. They're going to do shoulder surgery on her. Well, she had a Hawaiian come in and do a bone healing on her shoulder. Within one day, they went to do the surgery. The next day, they checked on the shoulder again, did an x-ray, and the doctors are like, we don't know what happened, but the bone healed.
That's awesome. What else is possible?
Yeah. Keone, who we had on the show, he was going to do a bone healing on my foot, but we didn't get a chance before I left. I broke my foot. I actually got it x-rayed, and I was walking around on it for 3 or 4 months with a broken foot. Didn't even realize it. Well, at first I think it.
And Mary was checking in. She's just saying, what are you guys doing tonight? We are just catching up. Brian has been traveling the world. I was just thinking, I wish we were doing this when you were in Australia, because like all the possibilities of streaming then, and that was before COVID. The COVID is really what inspired us to start coming online and sharing just what's going on and bringing a little bit of light with a little lighthearted entertainment as well. I'm on during the day with Casey, especially going into the fall. We'll be on a lot more. Maybe Brian can be on too now. Your local time. Maybe you'll be able to be on in the morning. That would be an interesting combination. I don't think you've met Casey yet, either virtually or in person.
No, I don't think so.
Cool. Well, and I know you were thinking we would do a shorter little talk today. How much time did you have? I don't want to go over anything.
I can keep going. My body's just adjusting, or I don't know what's going on. It could be Well, actually, I think my body's lacking sunlight. So I got vitamin D, and I'm already starting to feel better. I took like 100,000 IU of vitamin D, and now I'm kind of feeling better. I had a terrible migraine for the last few days, and I've been barely enough energy to stand up. I think when the sunlight goes away, I lose energy quick. So now that I get vitamin D in me, I should be getting back to normal.
Very good.
I don't know about this cold weather region. So to answer your question about where I'm heading next, I have some options, but I'm really being drawn to the Southwest. If I can get a car, my friend, I think you met him, Chris, says he can get me a really nice Prius at a very decent price. So I was hoping for the Lexus CT200H, which is the Lexus version of a Prius. But if he can get me a Prius, I'm then going to probably just start heading to the Southwest. So after California, I almost didn't get on the plane in California with my tuning forks. They stopped me. I mean, they went through all of my luggage, my carry-on, because I have so much oddball stuff with me. Tuning forks, shells, rattles. They're like opening it up and going, what on earth is this? But the tuning fork was over 7 inches though. So by FAA regulations, it was not allowed on the airplane, which I don't understand how or what. A tripod's over 7 inches. So getting on everywhere else that I had already, I have had no problems getting on the plane with my tuning forks in Australia, getting on in Hawaii, going from Hawaii to Kauai, Hawaii to Oahu, Hawaii to Maui. I had no problems. It wasn't until I got to California that they caused all this problem. They called over the whole TSA team to question me and interrogate me about the forks. And they're like, oh, that's over 7 inches. We can't let that on the plane. I'm like, no, it's okay. It's just for sound therapies. And then I went into the science of it, how the one, it creates nitric oxide, and then the set I have is binaural beats, and the difference between them is 77.7, 7 hertz, which is the theta frequency, so it didn't train. So I'm going through all the science, and it just, kind of like, these tuning forks are okay to go on the plane. So I pulled like a Jedi mind trick, and all the half dozen team just kind of walked away and go, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And I gave them my website and told them about my videos explaining all this stuff. And they just kind of forgot about the regulations and that none of that was allowed on the airplane. And just like, okay, you're okay to enter the plane now. I'm like, thank you. I had that same thing happen in Hawaii, though, in a different way.
But before you go to that, because this comment won't be in context anymore, Willow was tuning in, just saying that she has a lot of those things and happy to work with them. But she was saying that she actually was going through the airport one time and they took a piece of her collapsible didgeridoo. So then I guess it probably makes it a little bit harder to work with. But thank you for tuning in, Willow.
Yeah, thanks for watching. So,
and Will, anytime if you want to be on with us, we can always have you on too. I know you might need to get a camera and whatnot, but it would be awesome contribution for you to be on.
So I was getting on the airplane and I didn't have my camera or tablet in the carry-on, which really, when you go through security, they make you take out your big electronics anyhow. So I was walking on the plane. They're like, oh, no, you can only carry on 2 items onto the airplane. I'm like, no, it's okay. They're, I'm moving to the mainland. And they're like, no, it's FAA regulation. I'm like, no, I'm just moving. It's okay. And they're like, oh, okay, just put it in your bag. So I just slipped it underneath my shirt and walked on.
Wait, let's rewind a little bit. Before he leaves Hawaii, he ends up, rewind a little bit more. He gets to Hawaii within like a week, someone gives him a car. So he's using this car the entire time. Now he's leaving Hawaii, has to sell it, ends up selling it like the day that he's leaving, right? Goes to the title office, and now this is his other Jedi mind trick story.
So the due to the idiot apocalypse, a bunch of COVIDiots in the pushing office said, oh, you need appointment only to go to the DMV, and they're only taking so many per hour for cleaning purposes or whatever. So they're months scheduled way back, and all this. So you can drive around Hawaii now without a safety check, without license plates, and they really can't do anything about it because they're so backlogged. So it's kind of becoming lawless and kind of a cool situation. However, to sell my vehicle, I had to find the title because I could not find it. Turns out I packed it in a box that I had shipped out.
Well, I was right that you had packed it. I didn't realize it was one that you shipped.
Well, actually, I didn't ship it yet. It was in my possession. There was so much stuff I couldn't figure out where to look, where to even begin looking. So I drove to the BMV, and they're like, oh no, you need an appointment. I'm like, no, it's an emergency. I just need a title. I just need a copy of the title. And she's like, oh no, I'm like, no, I'm leaving. I'm getting on a plane in a few hours. I need this title because the guy's buying it today. She's like, oh, well, no, you need to. I'm like, no, it's really okay. I just need it right now. I just need the title. She's like, oh, okay, let me get you the title. So it's I don't know I actually kind of am beginning to understand how I do it, but it's
you just don't give up. You just keep going. You don't give up.
Yeah, there's the dogged determination, and I don't accept no for an answer. But no, there is an energetic aspect. And I mean, I'm sure this has to do with the law of attraction as well. It's wanting it so much that you project it out. Like, I want those tuning forks on the plane with me so much that it's going to happen. Just like the first time I got in my Toyota Prius on the island, I'm like, I wanted it so much. I'm like, this is my car. And then it happened. It was my car. So just, I see the comments. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, Tina Marie was saying, haha, you're too funny, Brian. I'm sure that now that Brian is like at least within he could drive here if he needed to. In fact, he was here just a bit ago. That eventually we're going to be having some events that we're going to be able to invite people to. We almost pulled off Serpent Mound. It just timing wise didn't quite match up. Yeah, and Leela was saying this is the power shaman.
Yes. Shaman mind tricks. But yeah, no, hopefully I'll come back soon. If I can get a Toyota Prius or some car where it's super cheap in gas, I can come back. We can do events. We can book sessions in Ohio. I'm going to work on booking sessions online. I really want to set that up. That's one of the big things now that I'm back to civilization and living a domestic lifestyle, which I'm already getting bored of. I'm like, man, it just isn't the same as sleeping on the ground.
Well, funny you should mention virtual. I'll talk more about it offline, but there's going to be an opportunity for a virtual thing that I'm involved with. So more to be announced soon on that, but there may be a good opportunity for you to get out there a little bit with that.
Excellent. Yeah. So I'm trying to, I have a lot of things going on. I'm going to get my online coaching, online classes going, my drop shipping. I'd like to really start putting together my online store, get my website up and running. I have some people that are going to help me with that. So it's great things are coming. There's this huge abundance. And I even talked to my friend Kirk. Oh no, he didn't make it to that night. He came out another day. Amazing empath. What he can feel is just astonishing. He goes, I'm like, abundance is coming. I can feel it. He's like, yeah, this time it is. Like in the past, like, well, but no, honestly, I've really had this amazing abundance, especially on Hawaii. Yeah, my bank account wasn't overflowing. However, I had more than I could ever want. I had a roof over my head. I had beautiful weather of the tropics. I had food growing on trees. Right about now, avocado season's kicking off in Hawaii, and it goes for 9 months. So for the next 9 months, you have more avocado than you could possibly ever eat. I absolutely love it. I left just a little bit too early. However, they're still playing the idiot apocalypse, COVID, whatever game, and people were getting arrested for not wearing masks. In fact, my one friend, she was on the video. She got arrested.
Wait,
She
is
was
that the
out in
lady,
public.
the astrology lady?
No,
Or
Fabi.
Fabi? I
The
don't
one
remember
that
who
I
said.
was on Mauna Kea with when the feed
Oh,
got.
when the feed got cut off, which if you go back and watch one stream, they're doing a ceremony on top of a mountain, and all of a sudden you hear, look up, look up. He's like, I am looking up. He's like, what's that? And the next thing you know, the stream just cuts out. And then they come on a little bit later in a second video and say what they saw. But if you want to see that, it's a really fun episode. And I was getting messages saying, is Brian okay? What happened to Brian? What happened to Brian? And I'm like, I don't know what happened to Brian. All I know is he was streaming. And then I watched, I'm like, oh, crap, what did happen to Brian? And I didn't realize you had done another stream to kind of fill people in on what happened. But it was a really interesting 30 minutes.
Yeah, that it actually it was. What I experienced was not ET. Well, the part of the
Make them
what
go
shut
watch the
down
video,
my
Brian.
camera feed was not ET. But I did get questioned within minutes. Luckily there's a couple people up there, so plausible deniability. They asked what we're doing. We're like, oh, we're up here doing ceremony. And I had all my shamanic items out, and so they're like, oh, okay. And then they walked away, assuming it was probably the other people doing the news feed. They didn't know it was me.
And Brian, this is I assume this is someone from Hawaii asking if you're still here. I'm not sure who Don is.
No, that's my good friend Don from Cleveland.
Oh,
so yeah, no, I'm here, kind of.
it looks kind of like a tropical background there. He threw me off.
Yeah, that's probably on the shore of Lake Erie. Not that tropical. His shirt probably throws you off.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I looked the other way towards the east, and I got a picture of the full moon rising above the cinder cone where the heiau is, or the temple or the ceremony site, on top of the cinder cone of Mauna Kea. And this pyramid showed up in it. And then with the guy who you took the Hawaiian healing class from,
yep,
his son, I got to talk to him that night. And I asked him about some of the things. And of course, he always claims, oh, no, I don't know about that. Then he asked me, oh, but have you heard of the invisible pyramid? And I'm like, oh, now you're just yanking my chain. He goes, oh, no, it is. If you look at sunset, you'll see the shadow of a pyramid looking away from the sun. In other words, east. I'm like, oh, hold on a second. So I went, grabbed my camera, and I showed him. His jaw dropped. He goes, oh yeah, you got a picture of it. So I got.
Do you have the picture? Can we put it up?
I do not have it on my camera right now. I got to go and retrieve it.
Okay. Well, for next time, maybe we'll have that. And we can take a deeper dive into that.
Yeah, definitely. But it was a clear picture of the invisible pyramid. So there's a ship floating out there right by Mauna Kea that the moonlight kind of illuminated, and I got to see. So even though it has cloaking, so you won't be able to see it with a naked eye, you can kind of still see the outline of it, but it was illuminated by the moon. So I was, I kind of gone, well, that looks like a ship to me, but I wasn't sure until he told me about it. And then I'm like, oh, I know. So that was like one of the most conclusive evidence that I have on my travels of, I've gotten some pictures of ships in the past that are, or, I've gotten pictures of extinct animals, the Thylacoleo or marsupial lion. I have clear pictures of the tracks of that in Australia. I also have pictures of the, I can't, wow, I'm drawing a blank. The Australian Yowies, the Australian Bigfoot. I have clear pictures of their footprints. I mean, we're talking footprints like this big, massive footprints in a creek bed.
You should get all those types of pictures together, and we'll do like one whole podcast of just like the evidence of Brian.
Yeah. So
That'd be
that
fun.
was really amazing. Uh, yeah. So where was it? So okay, yeah, we're talking about coming back. Where am I heading from here? So I caught the plane in California, used my Jedi mind trick to get all my gear on the plane, and then I stopped in Denver. I was flying space available, so I couldn't. They didn't have any space on that flight leaving that evening, so I couldn't leave until the morning. But if I wanted, I could have pushed it out a few days, so I could have explored Colorado, and I really, really, really wanted to. I had this like deep longing to go explore Colorado and even go south into Arizona or New Mexico. I'm really called to that region. I could like smell the desert. I could smell the pines. I could feel it, and something is calling me there. So as soon as I get the Prius, I'm going to hop in and start driving, and see where I end up, see who I meet, see who's calling out to me. So that's where I want to go next. From there, I have a friend when the borders open up and the idiot apocalypse ends, which I'm sure it's going to end right after Election Day. Um,
We'll see.
yeah, it's going to go away as quick as it came. But we're going to go, well, as soon as they open the borders up in Australia, I'd like to go back. I have a Maori friend who is a chief and wants to introduce me to his family. So he's going to fly us into New Zealand, and I'm going to get to meet his family and learn their spiritual traditions. The way he described it was they never got conquered. New Zealand, their official languages are English and Maori. So they never got their culture taken away. Their spiritual practices are true and never had to be hidden. In Hawaii, you had a lot of invading forces coming and trying to wipe out the Hawaiian traditions, which go back long before the Polynesians arrived. There was the civilization of Mu, the civilization of Boone. So these are even predating Atlantis. So these are very, very ancient cultures. So a lot of the heiaus from that time period are now submerged under the ocean because the oceans rose. The Hawaiian Islands used to be one giant island, Maui Nui, um, where as the oceans rose, it separated basically the mountain peaks off into their own separate islands.
Question for you with the guy that you could go visit in New Zealand. If you reach out to him and he has the ability to come on with us, maybe you can start connecting with him before you can go, and we can have him on and have a conversation and see what he might be able to share with us.
Absolutely, I'd love to. He actually has said that he went kind of more into the physical world to learn business and everything, but now he wants to delve more into the spiritual traditions. So I can't wait to hear from him. Go on the journey with him, learn everything, get to meet his family. Oh, that is actually Jana's cousin, Johnny
Oh,
Paracrypt.
oh yeah, okay. I
Yeah,
talked
the
to her once when you were
cryptid research team. That is her
there.
cousin. That's how I met him. So
Small world.
very excited. He told me he can do what they call eating eyes. So he can look into someone's eyes and get them to fall asleep. So it's really amazing. If it's anything like the Hawaiian and Polynesian traditions I've been exposed to, I'm very, very excited
Yeah,
because
reach
they
out to him now.
have
Tina says that would be amazing if we can get him on. So reach out to her. Maybe she could be on too when you guys are going
yeah,
out and doing the investigations out in the out at night in the bush and whatnot. That would be really fun.
yeah, I would have loved to do more episodes. Well, when I go back, I'm definitely going to meet up with my friends, go to all these places. I'd love to have Wirunga on as well. He
Yep.
was probably my closest Aboriginal friend in Australia. Really cool guy, very laid back, chill, big heart, absolute big heart, really just genuine guy. I can't wait to have him on. Very
Good.
knowledgeable.
You don't have to
Very,
wait to go back. You can reach out. Maybe they could be on now. And Tammy's just checking in and saying hello. I think you knew Tammy also from
yeah. Well,
local.
we've worked a lot actually. It's funny that she was telling me that she went to you when you were able to help her, and she didn't know that we knew each other. But so I was kind of helping her with these, and I said, well, maybe if you find someone in person, they could help you as well, and it'd be good to have. I don't know if I got to suggest you or not, but she told me that maybe it was before I suggested. I can't remember, but she ended up going to you, and it was really funny.
Small world after all.
Yeah.
But thank you for tuning in. And Tina will be willing to go with you to New Zealand when you go, so you have a little crew that you can take with you already.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I want to go to the American Southwest. I'm debating about getting a car because I just kind of want to hop on the plane. If I can get approved through the military, my military friend Dane that I met up with in California, he showed me a program that actually can help get me approved. I went through and I got service connected on my injuries, or I got rated at 100% on my injuries from the Marine Corps. However, when it came down to where they're going to get ready to pay me, they could not find my medical records. Actually, when I processed with the VA, they had no record that I had ever served. It took a congressional inquiry to prove that I had been enlisted in the Marine Corps for 6 years. So that was wild. But there's a great organization that Dane introduced me to. So if I can get that money, well, I shouldn't make it conditional, but that would make it a whole lot easier if I had steady income without. But we are going to have steady income. Yeah. So I got to stop putting limitations on myself because I've proven there are no limitations.
We talked about this before. Just like work towards that, absolutely, but at the same time, don't make that a condition for you to be able to create anyway, and then that could just be like icing on the cake at that point in time. And we had I'm going to mispronounce it, but we had someone say, "Hey, Double Dog." I assume you know this person.
Jordy, oh my goodness, how have you been? It's been forever. We were in boot camp together, so that goes all the way back to 2006. Those connections go deep.
How timely you were just talking about the service, and you had the boot camp come out. And then Joseph, he's actually in the shaman program. He says, "Awesome travels, Yoda. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining, Joseph." Yeah, and Leela was saying that you have completely changed timelines now.
Quite a few times. I've come in and out of this reality quite a few times. I've died quite a few times, come back quite a few times, cheated death on other occasions. Yeah, so it's been interesting. So I'm here. I found what I was looking for on Mauna Loa. So it really changed the dynamic of my travels. So instead of being on this desperate search for the answers, I found out I am the answer. I have all the answers I was looking for. I was looking for who I am, so then I got that answer. I found ourselves. So that's going to be a huge, that experience is going to fill the better part of at least one of my books.
Yeah, and I think that might need to clarify that. He was saying you got 100% from the corpse. That's a miracle. I think that you haven't gotten that yet. You're working towards that, correct?
No, I went through the medical and they did the exam, got 100% rating. And then right before they went to pay me, they couldn't find my medical record and said none of it was service connected. Thank you. Sorry about your luck. Don't try again. And I went back to the congressman. They could not locate my medical record. I had a copy of it, but because it wasn't an official copy, they couldn't use it. I had the documents from the day I was injured, that examination, and every subsequent follow-up talking about all my injuries. So it was it's just a way to get so they don't have to pay veterans. But it's, people are like, oh, I can't believe what they're doing now to the veterans and how it is today. Well, have you heard of Shays Rebellion? You might have heard about it in school. So Shays Rebellion happened right after the Revolutionary War. And the real reason behind it was because the Revolutionary War veterans were not getting paid their wages from fighting that war. So they went and tried to get their wages and were brutally slaughtered. Then after World War I, guess what happened? The same thing. So the veterans marched on the White House with their machine guns and armed like they were in battle. And instead of paying them the money they were owed, they mowed them down with tanks.
Interesting. And he was saying that they couldn't find his either. They only had me going through boot camp and not the 6 years that he served. And by the way, Brian, I went to Paris. By the way, Brian and I went to Paris Island together. MCRD. What's Marine Corps? I don't know what MCRD stands for.
It's been a minute. Marine Corps Recruit Depot. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, something. But yeah. Oh man, we had good times. It was Yordi was one of my good friends. You become a band of brothers. When you're going through this severe trauma, the only thing you have to get you through this are your friends, your brothers. And you become a very close-knit family. You all have, okay, Marine Corps Recruit Depot, I just saw it in the comments. So you form this bond, and especially when you get out into a combat situation, they have your backs. So it's not about, going in and trying to survive this situation. It's about all of a sudden you're at certain point in time, it's not even fighting for your country. It's fighting to protect your brothers. You're over there in the situation, and all of a sudden your biggest, most important thing in your life is those people that you're directly protecting, your brothers in arms that have your back. So they're doing the same thing. They're trying to protect you. So it's a really close group of friends.
Yep, and he's saying, "Yep, forever."
And warriors connect in a different way. There's a lot of people in the spiritual realms, and the hippie communities don't like violence, but sometimes you need rough men doing bad things for good reasons to protect good people. War is not a pretty thing, but sometimes throughout the ages, good people have stepped up and done some ugly things to protect good people. And even talking to Keone comes from a long line of headhunters, and what they were doing wasn't bad or evil. Headhunting was removing disease, basically. It was removing people that could not be healed or converted. They were really bad people with dangerous ideas to the general populace, people that were evil, people that were violent or attacking and a threat to good people. So they would headhunt them. They would cull the population and protect good people by doing rough things. So that's the armed forces. Warriors will step up and do some really ugly things for the protection of good people. And I am lucky enough to have walked all these different walks in life and understand this. And really, when you step into that spiritual knowing, there is no death either. You're not killing them, you're just reincarnating them. So obviously they didn't get it in this lifetime. Well, maybe they'll get it in the next.
And your buddy was offering, it's like a cycle. You got peace and eventually war comes and then peace again. It's a natural phenomenon. But what would it take to have a world where we didn't have to have that cycle and we could just have that harmony and that peace? That would be kind of a nice change, wouldn't it? And
Yeah,
Linda Marie was calling them narcissistic vampires. I'm not sure where you're going with that, Linda, but I
yeah, I'm
like the
not
sound of
sure.
it. You need more
Yeah.
more context. But
So
Anna,
there's a major paradigm shift. The same banks that financed the Germans in World War One and World War Two are the same banks that financed all the Allied powers. So there's puppeteers pulling these strings. A lot of these wars, and this is what a lot of uh, warriors and American warfighters have found out. Once they step beyond that American flag curtain that hides the government, you go, oh, that's what it is. So it's not exactly what we thought it was when we're gonna sign up. A lot of it is for, well, just as Yordi commented, he said, take the human greed away. You can
yep.
pull up that comment. So, and that's really it. A lot of this is about control. A lot of it is about profits because these wars create massive profits for the banks who are lending to both sides on each war.
Yep.
There's a lot of money to be made in war, unfortunately.
And if you fund both sides and keep it going, you make more money longer. And even in
Exactly.
economics class, they would say when there's a war, that's when you buy because everything goes up during a war. At least in
Yeah.
the economics class that I took. And he was saying, since we have free will, the human race will find no weight. The word is desire to better and profit over others, to be better and profit over others. Oh,
Yeah.
Linda's comment was she was just saying they didn't remove enough DNA of the narcissistic vampires, and that's why maybe where some of these corruption comes from. Perhaps that's where you were going with that.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of where I'm going. There's these bloodlines that have governed our world, and they're now being rounded up. So you see all these CEOs stepping down, all these powerful people getting arrested on charges of corruption or trafficking, human trafficking rings, or other crimes against humanity. So these people, the puppet masters, are getting rounded up. And I even think, like with that comment about the DNA of the narcissistic vampires, well, you can call them narcissistic vampires, or you can call them other things, but the Bible talks about these kill-offs. And like Sodom and Gomorrah,
Okay.
those cities got killed because they're unclean. But maybe it wasn't that they were morally unclean, but they had unclean or tainted DNA. Just like when
Interesting.
the Israelites rolled up in the land of Canaan, it said, wipe them all out, every man, woman, and child. Why? Because they had DNA that was tainted, along with the flood. Whoever was intermingling with the human DNA or tainting the human DNA, the genetic pools were too muddy, so they had to be cleaned out. So when you look at this, and the Bible is not the only one that talks about these floods occurring. The flood story is like the first yogi in, I believe, the Hindu tradition, or one of those traditions in the East talk about the first yogi that got off a boat after a massive flood. So there's a flood story in most all the cultures around the world. So
Interesting.
yeah, was there a higher power trying to clean up bloodlines? Potentially.
Well, we'll find out when we're on the other side, perhaps. Switching gear, going back to Tammy's comment, I brought it up, and then we kind of were on a roll with the other thing. But she was just asking, "Are we planning to work together anytime soon?" I sure hope so. Like it almost happened just a little bit ago. I thought he was actually going to be here for a little longer, but he was here for like a day. But Brian, if you're free this weekend and you don't mind the drive down, it is the last weekend of the apprenticeship. And I think everybody in the apprenticeship program should get a dose of Brian.
I don't know if I'll be able to make it down right now. I'm trying to get my vehicle situation straightened out. If you want to hook me up and buy me a plane ticket, I'd be more than happy to come on down.
Can't you fly space ready as long as you don't bring your tuning forks with you?
That was a friend of mine who hooked me up with a ticket, so I don't know. They have a limited number of that.
Oh, got it.
Once I get approved in the Marine Corps, I can. Once I get approved through the VA and rated at 100%, I'll get space available anywhere in the world.
Yeah, but he is in Minnesota right now. So about how long of a drive is it? Was it like 12 hours to Cleveland?
Yeah,
or
give
more?
or take 12 hours, maybe pushed out to 14 with breaks. But once I get the Prius, I can sleep in the Prius. So I think you're in Florida, aren't you? Well, at least last time I heard, I have another friend down in Florida I want to come meet. So maybe I come spend some of the winter months down in Florida. That's another place I'm drawn to.
I love Florida, but not in the summer. The winter is nice. Yep, he's in Florida.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe if I can go on walkabout, I get a good walkabout vehicle. I go down south, hit Florida, hit Arizona, New Mexico. Just hop in. I have friends in Texas. I have friends all over the place now, so I'll just hop in my Prius and go see where it takes me. If anybody has a Prius, I'm looking for one, by the way. Or more than Prius, a Lexus CT200H, which is the Lexus version of the Prius. So yes, I would like to manifest and actualize one of those.
A year ago I would have called him crazy for putting that out there, but then he gets to Hawaii and someone gives him a Prius. So like anything is possible. So if you're listening and then your computer crashed and a listener bought you a computer and shipped it to you, or had one, I don't know which way it went, but either way, you have a knack for actualizing things in a very easy way.
On Hawaii, it was incredible. You think of it and it happens. The one day I was living in my bus. So within 2 days, I got a place of my own. I was staying in a bus that had no running water and no power, but
no problem for Marine.
I had an oil lamp in there, and it actually was amazing. It had no cell phone reception in that region whatsoever. I had no electronics. And this is actually something I'm still trying to get used to, sleeping with the refrigerator running or other electronics running the house. I'm almost very sensitive to it. So I'm used to sleeping, and that bus was just absolutely electromagnetically sealed. It had no reception, so I'd turn my cell phone off at night. There's no electronics. Absolutely loved it. It was amazing. So I manifested
Brian, check this out. Louis might have an option on the Prius, so you guys should connect to off air and see what might happen. Look at that, easy as that.
Yeah.
Never know. Awesome.
But there was no power there, so I'm like, you know what? I'd like to do some computer work. I would, I'd kind of like to get some power out there. I'd like to get a generator. All of a sudden, that day I did a healing session, and my friend Lori, that I was doing the session for, goes, hey, I didn't even ask for it. I didn't even mention anything. So I wasn't like using my Jedi mind trick to try and get a free one. She goes, hey, I have an extra generator, just switched to solar. Would you like a generator? Yes, please. So it's amazing. Like I think about it, put it out there, and it happens. I'm willing to pay for it. I'd definitely be willing to pay. But if you know of a really good Prius or Lexus CT200H, absolutely.
And then Lee was just saying she would love to live in a place where she can unplug the power every night. That would be, because you even get like the little buzz and it, like you don't even notice it's there until you go somewhere where you are completely unplugged, and then you notice how noisy technology and everything is.
Oh yeah, until you live outside of that, you really can't even begin to understand what it feels like to live in a natural state. This artificial setting that we live in, like right now, our lights are going off and they're messing up our circadian rhythms. The electronics, you get that loud hum and buzzing and light bulbs and everything.
Remember when we were driving out to Illyria that one time? Like I just started, I don't even know what was going on. And you're like, and then you notice that we were passing one of those big transformer stations. And like, when I don't know one of those are coming, it's like, you almost get blindsided energetically. I'm like, why am I having such a hard time? Like I couldn't concentrate or think or anything. They're really disruptive.
They are, and people don't even realize the Wi-Fi. It'll drain you. You'll feel drained if you're sitting next to a Wi-Fi thing without even knowing it, working at your computer. You start to really get drained. The electromagnetic radiation off of your laptop. If I'm sitting at my laptop all day, I get very, very drained. Uh, Especially on the mainland, driving by 5G towers, I get a horrible headache, and I'm wondering if that's part of the reason why I've had such a bad migraine since being back in this region, or maybe it's just
Well, I
energetically
think
adjusting, loss of
I
vitamin
think
D.
it might be some other things too. You know, I sent you a clearing for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it could
We'll
be a
try
combination of
to.
everything. Yeah, we could talk offline about that. But I'm sure that it's a combination of everything because, yeah, your vitamin D intake is different. You're used to island time. Now it's this time. You're used to like massive nature. Now you have a more tech based surrounding. There's a lot of different changes. So it takes the body a little bit to acclimate. Even going from one side of the island to the other, you would experience all these different changes and everything. So you're just acclimating.
Massive.
But energetically, there's a few other things going on, and we'll work on that clearing off air.
Okay. Uh,
Oh, and Will was suggesting you might benefit from a float tank session. Float tanks are amazing if you haven't done one. It's like sensory deprivation. You're just like floating in nothingness. It could be pretty amazing if you have an opportunity to do that.
yeah, definitely. I don't know if there's one around here. I think there is. It's actually, I like Duluth. It's nice, besides the fact that it's really, really freaking cold. Uh, and it was fun. I think there's been about 3 sunny days in the 2 or 3 weeks that I've been here, and that's getting to me. Uh,
You're spoiled now.
I love the tropics. Like every winter I'd go through after I got injured in the Marine Corps, I wanted to get to warm weather. I'm like, I want to live in the tropics where it's always summertime. Then I went from the summertime, I went to Mexico, cut my winter short. Then I went through the summertime in Ohio, went to the summertime in Australia, and then even went through the winter in Australia. And it was up in the 70s every day. Sometimes at night it would get down kind of chilly, but during the day it was still up in the 70s, and you could go swimming. So their winter wasn't that bad. Let's just put it that way. And then going from there to Hawaii, I'm like, finally, I've accomplished it. My lifetime goal of never having to deal with winter. And all of a sudden, here I am back in the winter. I'm like,
by choice, you could have stayed. You came by choice. And it does have a hookup for you for float tanks in Cleveland if you want to. Gives you another reason to come down and visit. You can go for a float.
Definitely. Well, it was so great catching up with all my family and friends, and it was really wonderful. I want to do more work down there. I want to get a vehicle so I can come down anytime I want, spend more time down there. Due to ride situations, work, and everything, I had to come right back. Barely swapped. I actually forgot a lot of what I came down there for, so I'm gonna have to come back anyhow.
Yeah, you were here for it wasn't long enough, but there'll be more chances. Or maybe we find a place that's halfway and we can meet somewhere and see what shenanigans we can get into.
Yeah, I went from Hawaii to California, spent almost a week there. Went from California, ended up spending the night in Denver. I just found on the upper level, I found this hallway that just kind of ended in a closet or something, and I just slept on the floor. And my experience in Hawaii, I just got used to sleeping on bare floor, hard ground, sand. So I was just found a quiet spot and I just slept on the floor, and I was as comfy as could be. So then from there, I got into Duluth, spent maybe a day or two there, drove down to Ohio, spent a few days there, drove back up here. So I'm just finally catching my breath from all that travel. So I'm finally catching up on my paperwork, the insurance claim from getting robbed in California, just finally catching up on stuff.
Yeah. And last call for questions or comments because we're at the hour mark. And though it's not late, I know we were going to just do a short stream, and now we're already over an hour. So last call if you have a question or a comment, and we'll get ready to wrap up because wrapping up Brian could still take a half hour. But no, seriously, we're going to be planning to wrap up here shortly. And Leela was saying she slept on a wooden board for 6 years. Wow. Okay. It takes a while.
Yeah.
I like my mattress. I'm spoiled. I prefer the nice soft thing. And she says that she loves you. Or we love you. We love you. Yeah.
We love you too. So thank you to all the listeners. It was so great to catch up with you, Yordi. Let's touch base soon. We'll talk about coming down, planning a Florida visit. Really great to hear from you. It's been so long. Thanks to everyone watching. It's always great. The audience always makes the show. It's so much more interesting.
Oh, she slept on a literal board. I'm sorry, I had to bring that up. Like literally a board. I have to talk to her more about this. Okay. But anyway, she just got a mattress this year. Before that, it was just literally a wooden board. But back to thanking everybody for listening.
So, I mean, it really makes the show interesting, getting that interaction from everybody. Hank and I talk all the time. Well, not as much as I'd like, but we do talk. So Hank sometimes is caught up on my story. Sometimes I
surprise me.
Surprise him with some really wild things that happen in my life. I cannot even predict what's going to happen in my life.
Yeah, and sometimes he does it on purpose. He knows he's about to say something that my mind is just going to like, go, what? And he saves it for air and then blindsides me. And it's so much fun for him when he does that.
And I found out that I like to Loki. I don't understand it, but I like some of that coyote medicine. I try in a direct, straightforward, telling people how it is, trying to teach them. But sometimes a horse won't be led to water, so why not guide it into the desert? So then it really wants some water, then it'll drink. So I don't know why. I'm sure you've seen this in me, and I only realized recently that I was doing this.
I know we were talking at your birthday about it a little bit, that you have this like natural knack to push people's buttons. But in a way, it's you're not doing it really with the intention to push them over the edge or anything. It's just like, here's a button. I'm going to push the button. I'm going to push the button. And it kind of illuminates for people where they have these sensitivities that they're willing to be aware with it. So it is a service, potentially.
It's getting people, if I see someone doing something ridiculous, I just have this second nature to, I'll maybe say straightforward, oh, that's probably not a good thing you're doing that. And they just keep doing it. So I'm like, okay, let's play a little bit. So I'll take their ridiculousness and get them to push it to a whole new level until they hit rock bottom and they go, oh, I probably shouldn't be doing this. I knew someone there, I had tried to advise them on their health and stuff. And then it was the morning on a weekday, and they're like, it's a day off. I'm thinking about drinking, but it's only 9 a.m. I'm like, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Why not? Right? He goes, okay, well, I'll have a little bit. I'm like, no, if you're going to do it, just do it right. Drink, just start doing shots. Come on. Don't be a pussy about it.
I'm glad you weren't around during my drinking days. I would never have made it.
So, but then you can see, he had this like huge desire. He's grabbing for it. He's going to pour this big glass. And then as soon as I started like, yeah, go for it. Come on, go all the way. And I'm like egging him on. All of a sudden you can see his desire to like, he just put a little bit in there, because I think I highlighted the ridiculousness of the behavior, and it's like, oh yeah, maybe that, so I can do that. So I'll start kind of pushing them a little bit further.
Yeah. And Will was offering the Ancestors Like whiskey. I've been sober for over 12 years, but I still buy rum, and I offer it to some of the beings that I work with. They love whiskey, or mine particularly spiced rum. Loves that. Joseph was just saying, loves hearing about the journey and is thanking you for all the pictures and videos. I know we didn't have any videos or pictures today, but if you go back on Stir Crazy Shaman's YouTube channel, there's a playlist with all the Midnight Meanderings, and there are a lot of the episodes we brought up a lot of different pictures from where Brian was having his adventures and everything. So definitely check out the playlist on the YouTube channel if you like. And then Nikki was saying, take time to regroup and reset, welcoming travel to warmer weather and sunnier states. Thanks again for sharing all of your travel pictures.
You're very welcome. I love, so in my travels, I don't have that much room for souvenirs. I've collected some really sacred items along the way. I've been gifted some really amazing things. I've gathered some tools from along the way. And like I've collected some items. However, you have very limited space when you travel the world. 2 suitcases and 2 carry-ons is almost too much to deal with, especially if you're going bush or going out in the wilderness, you know, trying to figure out where you're going to put this luggage without having it stolen. So it's just a lot to carry with me. So my biggest souvenirs are the pictures. And what the pictures allow me to do is to tap into the energy of that place, that time, that event, and be able to go back and fully remember. It gives like an anchor. Like in NLP, they talk about anchors. Well, the picture is an anchor. And you can almost remote view it, or you can just kind of astral project back to that picture and experience that place again. So I absolutely love getting the pictures. I'm trying to get some video. This is something that I have trouble with because I'm more of a still picture guy. I forget to get video. And when I go back, I'm like, I should have shot some video for intros and background and stuff like that. So I have started to collect some nice panning shots, and I want to, once I get the computer working again, I want to get the panning shots all put together and create an intro of all my travel videos that I can put together, one for our webcast or Crazy Shamans. I can put it together for my post-edited videos, which I want to start doing more of those as well. And now that I'm in a stable location, that's going to be first priority, getting business going.
I do miss having our stream and seeing the sunset behind you. I do miss that. But you got a nice background. It kind of reminds me of the sunset with how red it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really beautiful place I'm staying. Really beautiful city, really beautiful region. The leaves are turning. It's beautiful, hilly, semi-mountainous, Lake Superior right next to me. I can look out my window and see Lake Superior. So it's really beautiful. Cold, but really beautiful. I want to connect. And I have an intuitive hit on where to go to start kind of opening up that connection with the natives of the land here. I am very good about meeting them, especially because my ancestry is of the Anishinaabe or Ojibwe people.
Yeah. And any final, because we'll go ahead and really wrap up now. We have all of our final comments. Any final thing that you want to say before I say goodnight and play our little outro video, which I meant to play as our intro video, but I was under the wrong brand. It was under the wrong thing.
I'm working on my book. I'm hoping I can get this cracked out really quick. I'm excited to share it with you. I'm going to start talking about it more once I get it a little bit more cemented in place. I have 3 books that I'm writing right now. One is a practical guide to not even spirituality. It's attaining right thought or an ascension of the mindset. And it isn't one, because you can have an infinite number of aha moments in your life to jump up to these next levels. And it really has nothing to do with using sage or crystals. It's these aha moments that click. So going from energy healing and sound healing, my favorite modality now is tapping in and unblocking the mind, clearing all those things that hold you back. So I got certified in NLP and life coaching through Wild Success. I've developed my own subconscious belief clearings. I've done my own trauma healing. Actually, that an MDMA journey taught me how to do, and then I've kind of put things together. So that's what I'm working on mostly. Another one is the the story of my, me sitting down, spinning yarn, talking about all my adventures. So there's going to be a whole book on that. And then there's going to be a book of the secrets of the universe, or the secrets of the multiverse. Things that I've gotten from crossing over to the other side during journey work. Some of the times I've died and come back. Also, I have to see how much of the other stuff. So everything that I've gotten from the other side and brought back, I feel safe about sharing. Some of the information that I've gotten from people I've talked to, I'm not allowed to share that, but I'll see how much of the line I can walk on what I can put in that book. So there's my first 3 books that I'm working on right now.
Publish it under a pseudonym and they'll never know it was you.
Well,
like Mark
they're going to
Sam
be redacted. The original version of the book, I'm going to give the whole story, but it's actually going to be redacted. You'll have these areas of the writing that are going to be blacked out, so you won't be able to read it. So that's going to protect myself and others that I talk about. So I was with Redacted, and we were doing Redacted in, or you're going to have enough to see the story without maybe getting those fine details that might get us in a little bit of trouble. So I'm going to say enough to where it's interesting, but redact enough. So you're going to be reading it and you're going to see out, the blacked out names, like you're reading a top secret document. So it's going to be a pretty cool book. I'm excited about it.
Look forward to it. And I've had a couple audio recordings from Brian that he'll be in one of these very inspired moments and he'll just say this thing. I told him we should bring up some of these audio clips one day and just play those, because the space that he's in when some of the stuff comes through, it comes across totally differently than how we're talking with you all right now, and because he's just in the zone, so it's going to be real fun to see all that start to actualize and manifest for the books and everything. And if you found value out of tonight listening to our meanderings, it was midnight meanderings, but now we're on earlier, so we'll just call it meanderings. Take a moment and share it with somebody, or especially if you share it from the YouTube channel, that definitely helps us out. The more people that watch on YouTube, the more it will serve it up to people. Comment, do all that kind of thing, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet to Stir Crazy Shamans, and watch the playlist if you want to catch up on more of Brian's random things, especially the ones with the guests. The guest ones are these ones where we had Kiane on and Rocky on. They're just really fun, and a whole nother set of information coming in besides what you get from me and Brian.
Oh yeah, they have amazing information, and I'm here. Feel free to reach out. Don't be shy. I love talking. I'd be happy to spin yarn with you, especially if you are yourself interested in getting into this. I can help you. I have classes. I would be happy just to answer questions. So don't feel, and sessions as well. If you are going through trauma, this is what I do professionally. So I would like an equal energy exchange. But if you can't afford that, I don't tell people no for healing. A lot of people have come to me and are in a bad situation, a bad way. I do not turn people down. If they're in a bad way, I will always help them. To me, the healing is more important than the money, because abundance always finds me. People that need me always find me. So please reach out, especially if you're going through a difficult time, whether it's emotional, whether it's mental, whether you are just coming into your abilities. If you have voices in your head and you can't figure out what's going on, get a hold of me. Either we can teach you how to make a harmonious conversation, or if they're negative voices, we can remove them. So there's a lot of aspects to this. Or if when you go out into crowds, you're picking up on people, the way they feel, you just get overwhelmed, or agoraphobia when you go out in crowds. Well, it's probably because you're an empath and you can feel what they're going through. So get a hold of me. Let's talk. I'd be happy to help you. Going to get my classes booked. That's one of the big things coming up. My books, my classes. I'm going to be booking sessions. So book your session now. It's going to be great.
What's your website, Brian? Is it infinitelove.com or infinitelove.org?
Infinitelovemovement.org.
infinitelovemovement.org is Brian's site. My site is my name, Hank Setala, SETALA.com, to find me. I kept reinventing myself like every time I learned something new, and then Spirit's like, dude, you're always you. Just be you. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
and so it's worked a lot better that way. But again, thank you all for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Share with a friend, and we will catch you next Tuesday for a near midnight meandering. Bye, everyone.
Aloha.